Deep inside a freezing, remote monastery in the Himalayas, monks have been guarding a terrifying secret for centuries. Locked in a glass case sits a massive, hairy scalp, supposedly belonging to the legendary Yeti. For decades, people thought it was just a clever fake made of goat hair to scam tourists. But when modern geneticists finally smuggled a piece out and tested its DNA, the computer spit out a terrifying match. It didn't belong to a monkey, and it definitely didn't belong to a human in a furry suit. It belonged to a massive prehistoric apex predator that was supposed to be completely extinct. Later on, you will discover the shocking identity of this real-life monster, so keep watching, and you will be absolutely amazed, because the truth about the Abominable Snowman is way weirder than any Hollywood movie. So, where did the legend of the Yeti actually come from, and why are we so obsessed with it? First of all, we need to completely bust the myth of the name Abominable Snowman. Local Tibetan and Sherpa people never actually called it that, and they definitely didn't think it was made of snow. The name was actually a massive, hilarious mistranslation by a dramatic British journalist in the 1920s. The locals called it the Metokongmi, which roughly translates to man-bear snow thing. But the journalist thought Abominable Snowman sounded way cooler to sell newspapers back in London. And just like that, a legendary pop culture icon was born out of a bad translation. To the local people living in the freezing mountains, the Yeti wasn't a cute, fluffy mascot. It was a terrifying, aggressive beast that would steal your livestock and literally tear you limb from limb. Parents would actually use stories of the Yeti to scare their children into behaving. It was basically the ancient, freezing equivalent of the boogeyman, but with way bigger teeth. The Western world completely ignored these local stories until the year 1951. That's when a famous British explorer named Eric Shipton was climbing near Mount Everest. He took a crystal clear photograph of a massive, human-like footprint perfectly preserved in the snow. Next to the footprint, he placed his ice axe to show the sheer, terrifying scale of the monster. When that photo hit the newspapers, the entire world lost its absolute mind. Suddenly, everyone with a warm jacket and a hunting rifle was booking a ticket to the Himalayas. It triggered a ridiculous, real-life monster hunt that sounds like a crazy comedy sketch. Even the United States government got involved, issuing official rules for Americans hunting the Yeti. They literally wrote a document stating that if you shoot the Yeti, you have to share the body with Nepal. Imagine being the government official forced to draft a legal treaty for a mythological snow ape. Hollywood actors, billionaires, and even the Soviet Union sent heavily armed expeditions into the freezing death zone. They spent millions of dollars freezing their toes off, staring at empty snowbanks for months. But every single time they found a giant footprint, science came in to aggressively ruin the fun. You see, the Himalayas have a very weird trick when it comes to melting snow. A totally normal, boring animal, like a fox or a bear, walks through the soft snow. Then the intense mountain sun melts the edges of the print, making it expand and stretch out. By the time a paranoid explorer finds it, a tiny fox print looks like the foot of a giant. But footprints are one thing. What about the actual, physical evidence hidden in the mountains? For decades, remote monasteries claimed to have the actual mummified hands and scalps of the beast. One famous artifact was the Pangboche Hand, a creepy, oversized skeletal hand kept by monks. An American explorer actually stole a finger bone from it and smuggled it out by hiding it in his friend's luggage. That friend happened to be famous Hollywood actor Jimmy Stewart, which makes the story even more insane. But when scientists finally analyzed the bone decades later, it turned out to be completely human. It was just a regular human hand bone, heavily padded with weird dirt and monk magic. So, is the entire legend of the Yeti just a giant, centuries-old misunderstanding? Well, this brings us back to the shocking secret I mentioned at the very beginning of the video. Remember that terrifying monastery scalp and the DNA test that baffled modern scientists. In 2013, an Oxford genetics professor decided to settle the Yeti mystery once and for all. He gathered dozens of so-called Yeti hair samples from all over the Himalayas. Most of them turned out to be exactly what you would expect, like horses, raccoons, and local bears. But two specific hair samples gave a DNA result that literally made the scientist drop his coffee. The DNA didn't match any known living animal currently roaming the face of the earth. Instead, it was a 100% perfect match to a jawbone found in the Norwegian Arctic. But here's the absolute craziest part. The jawbone belonged to a prehistoric polar bear, a massive, terrifying apex predator that lived over 40,000 years ago during the Ice Age. The DNA proved that a prehistoric species of polar bear somehow survived high in the Himalayas. It probably interbred with local brown bears, creating a terrifying, highly aggressive hybrid monster. So the locals weren't hallucinating a giant, aggressive beast walking on two legs in the snow. They were literally bumping into a living, breathing relic from the Ice Age, a massive hybrid bear that would stand on its hind legs during a blizzard and terrify travelers. The Yeti isn't a magical ape. It is a prehistoric genetic freak of nature. And honestly, bumping into an ancient polar bear in a snowstorm sounds way scarier than a giant monkey. Science didn't destroy the monster. It just gave it a much more terrifying biological reality. Our planet is still hiding massive secrets right under our freezing noses. If you want to uncover more mind-blowing historical mysteries, make sure you smash that subscribe button. You won't want to miss our next video, so stay tuned and keep questioning everything.